So, all right. Hello, everyone. Could somebody put in the chat if you can hear me, please? I see there's some people writing. Okay, perfect. That seems to work. Thanks. Well, that's a bit strange to be the only one speaking. I'm not hearing all the others. Actually, I'm used to Microsoft Teams, and actually, people like to unmute themselves. But, well, let's see. Okay, let's wait another minute. Thanks for posting the PDF, Sonnentrop. I can't see that. And you've already pinned it. Perfect. Right. Then I think we can start it off. Yeah, I'll also start the recording. There we go. Okay, that seems fine. Right. I'm just switching back. Okay, I'll just keep the chat window open. Right. Yeah, let's start this off. Hello and welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining our meditation panel. Well, first of all, I'd like to say a few words about myself. Some of you know you, but I think not everybody. So I'm more one of the older members of this convention, I think. I'm 43 years old, German dragonkin. In real life, I'm working as a scientist in application-oriented research. So if I sound scientific, that's because I do it for a living. Also, if I sound weird, that's just my funny German accent. Sorry for that. So yeah, meditation, as you can see, there is the PDF that is also pinned to the channel. You don't exactly need to open that PDF. It's mostly text. I like a funny German accent, thanks. The PDF is mostly text. There are some images in there, but I will be posting them in the chat when speaking about them. Actually, the slide set contains everything I say, so it's more meant for reference. Also, there are all sources in there. You can look it up later. Okay, so this panel will be quite packed, and I just hope that we will have some time for discussion. I didn't actually test the time, but let's just see how it goes. Yeah, I'll pretty make it possible to have 10 minutes at the end. I pretty much won't be able to follow the chat while I'm talking. So if you have questions, I suggest to keep them for later or put them in the questions channel, which is also open by now. Okay, I'll have a look on that. So, okay, let's jump right in. So, meditation. Why did I do this panel? Or why am I about doing it? Well, I've realized that many of us all like to meditate. it's a common practice to do introspection, to learn more about ourselves. But I've also realized that there is some kind of lack of theoretical base understanding about what traditional style meditation actually is, how it works. Everybody does it somehow, but there are different styles. So I was just wondering, what is the ancient traditional way to do it? Yeah, I mean, meditation is practiced since maybe 1,000 years. So there ought to be some correct way, so to say, to do it. Um, so I've looked up some sources, especially I've got one main source, but I'll introduce that in a minute. And I would like to share my findings. So in this panel, switch to full screen mode on my slides. In this panel, we will learn what traditional style meditation is, how it works, if it may be interesting for you or not. There are some fallacies. I will come back to that. So yeah, I might select not to do it. That's perfectly fine. You will also learn what my experiences are. So I'm meditating since October last year daily. That's not too much when compared with experienced meditators, but at least it's something. This panel is not a meditation teaching lesson or a personal advice or how to. I cannot provide that. I don't have nearly enough experience to teach anybody. That's just not possible. I'm just sharing information that I researched. So I will, in the first half of my talk, just name you my sources and explain about some general concepts, motivation, and findings. Also, yeah, some fallacies. I think they will come later, but that's more like general talk. And then in the second part, I will walk you through a 10-stage process that actually teaches how it should be done. I think we won't be doing all the stages. I think maybe the first 5 or 6. I wanted to do all the 10, and actually the PDF contains all 10, but I think doing all of them, that would be too boring for this panel. It's actually quite a lot of information. So my main source is a book, and I think, hang on, I have the book cover. Yes, I'll just put it in the chat. See if that works. Yeah, this is how it looks like. I have it right here. The Mind Illuminated by John Yates, also known as Culadasa. Yeah, these traditional meditation teachers also have some special names. This is quite a big book. It's more than 400 pages. I've bought the 2017 version, and this has received quite a lot of well reviews. Yeah, very good reviews. It teaches step by step, as I said, Buddhist meditation without the religious overload, which was very important for me. So the author was professor for physiology and neuroscience, later worked in alternative medicine, and has over 40 years of experience with Tibetan and Theravadic Buddhist traditions. I'm reading this from the book back cover, actually. So this is quite something. There was, unfortunately, a drama about Culadasa evolving in the year 2019 about adultery. Culadasa has admitted the charge of adultery and expressed that, well, he wants to enter therapy. So he has left the stage and retreated from teaching. I've learned about this after buying the book. The thing is that some of his scholars say that, yeah, well, nobody's perfect. Others say that it devalidates the entire book and his entire life. I think, yeah, maybe the truth is somewhere in between. I mean, given that I learned about the drama after the buy and that the book apparently helped quite a lot of people, I just gave it a try. There is also a very nice Reddit forum about the book. Um, yeah, the link is in the PDF. Uh, Actually, very active. I've asked one question there, and I think I got 5 or 6 answers within one day. So that's really great. So on. Okay. There are other resources you could take a look at if you don't like that book. Especially, let me put this one in the chat. Hang on. There we are. This link I just posted is called "With Each and Every Breath" from Tanisira Bhikkhu or something like that. I don't know how to pronounce. This is also a book which is fully available for free. And I didn't read that. Probably I should, but I think that it's quite good. I've read only part of it, and what I've seen, it looks really good. Then there are two other sources I've used for this presentation. There are two presentations given by other people. One of which is by Ulrich Ott, Meditation. Yeah, well, I'll say it in English: Meditation, Spiritual Risks and Experiences. That was held in April this year. And the other one is from Nina Freikeisler, Meditation, Not a One-Size-Fits-All Practice, held at IONS also this year. So let's jump in to the general things. Our timing is still good. And let me post a picture of a girl meditating. Oh, hang on, that didn't work. I need to do it like this. Okay. Yeah. If you ask people about what does meditation look like, they will probably come up with something like that. You see a girl in a typical pose, legs crossed in a very typical way, um, hands held on their knees, fingers held in a very specific way, eyes closed, sitting very upright on the floor. If this were a movie, then you would probably hear her saying something like "Om" or something like that. Yeah. Yeah. So, does it have to look like that? No, it doesn't. Actually, there are several ways of doing this. And most importantly, you can use anything you want to make your sitting comfortable. You can use cushions, you can use cloth, you can use a chair, anything, yeah, some back support. You can even do lay down meditation. This is not recommended because laying down, you just tend to fall asleep. Yeah. But it's recommended to be sitting. When I started meditation last year, I was sitting on the cushion on the floor, but my problem was that one of my legs always got numb after 20 minutes or something. And that was very annoying. I just couldn't get that away. So nowadays I'm using a nice and comfy chair. I'm using also some cushion, so that enables me to sit for, yeah, if I like, I can sit for 1.5 hours, but normally I'm doing 30 minutes to 45 minutes. Culadasa recommends 45 minutes. But yeah, you can see doing this every day, there's really some work that needs to go into it. Okay, about the Om saying, there is no such thing. Culadasa doesn't mention that at all, and I have no idea why, or why the people always are saying Om in the movies. There is also no such thing as yeah, well, using incense sticks. Of course, you can do all that, but this is not required. You don't need to cross your legs like this. You can sit otherwise. I don't do it. Also, it even doesn't need total silence. Yeah, I mean, if there is some sound, some commotion going around, that's perfectly fine. A really experienced meditator can meditate in any environment, actually. Yeah, breathing has some relevance, but it might not be so relevant as you might think. Well, most meditation teachings I hear, they teach you, yeah, just breathe in, breathe out, and I was always wondering why the heck do they stress that so much? What I've breathing, I've been there, I know that, I can do it, and I just didn't listen to that. But now I understand why it's actually important. I'll come back to it. Also, there are some kind of misconceptions about this. One thing is that meditation, it should be always relaxing. The thing is, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's rather disturbing. Also, meditation does not turn you into a saint or into a guru. It actually, well, my impression is that it doesn't change who you are. It was one of my major concerns. If I go deep into that, would that change my identity? It turns out that it's not the case. It just allows you to explore yourself more. And the example of Culadasa um, shows that meditation in itself, it does not make you a flawless being. It does not make you a saint. That's just a misconception. Hey, good. So some general findings. Um, One of the most important findings is that there is no one fits all practice. Nana Freikeisler said a very, very good quote. She said, be your own meditation researcher. She means that you need to go there, you need to find out what works for you and stick to that. Yeah, you just need to experiment. Uh, Use different postures, different types of sitting, meditate in different environments. You can meditate with eyes opened. That it is allowed. You can even do walking meditation. That is apparently that is a very good thing. There is a chapter in the book's appendix that explains about that. I did try it, but I don't do it too often. And there is even such thing as dancing meditation. This is called expressive meditation. That is also possible. And of course, there's mantras. A mantra is actually a sentence that you repeat in your mind all the time during meditation until it somehow drips into and goes automatic. So that's another practice. Those are all allowed. Yeah, there is no one fits all practice. Yeah, they need to find out what works best. Second thing, very important, every session is a good session. Even if you're tired, meditating tired is not that efficient, but it's better than not meditating at all. Um, so actually, every session is a good session. The only bad session is the session you skip. Yeah, that pretty much points out how important it is to consistently train, and that's maybe one of the major drawbacks of this. Apparently, this needs consistent training every day. Well, as I said, at least 45 minutes. I don't manage that every day, but it needs time. Kulat also says that you just have to steal that time. It's something that can be done without diligence. You need time, patience, diligence, and persistence. It's mental training. It's really training. Yeah. So that is, I think, it's one major thing which might make it not so interesting for all of us. Okay, hang on, my okay. Um, what is the relevance for Otherkin? Well, um, meditation is not that much related to Otherkin, but it's more related to you and the world around. Of course, it's a good thing to do introspection and to explore your own self. Um, but well, I was always searching for where's the dragon in there? Yeah. So I have to say that so far I didn't really find it. It's a bit surprising, but I found a lot of things in my mind. I'll be talking about them, but the relevance to dragon is still a bit of a mystery to me. Yeah. And of course, you can work with your phantom limbs, but yeah, well, there's no necessity. Yeah, yeah, but still. Um, about plural systems, I have no idea if system members might be able to meditate in a group. I have no idea. I'm not a system. I'm a singlet, so I don't really know how it feels. Yeah, well, maybe a system in the auditorium can elaborate on that. So, known benefits. Well, there are scientific studies about the benefits of meditation. Actually, there's a lot of it's very well established that meditation calms the mind. It increases attention, mindfulness. It allows the brain to switch between stress mode and relaxed mode faster, and I can totally second that. And it can also lead to greater sensoric awareness and also to spiritual experiences, like, for example, precognition. Um, yeah, I can totally second that. So there's a lot of benefits actually. So, what are the goals of traditional meditation? Um, yeah, if you open that slide, there is some Tibetan terms. They're always throwing them around. Well, actually, the theory says that first you establish stable attention and mindfulness, and those two lead to a unique mental state that includes effortless attention, mindfulness, joy, tranquility, and equanimity. This state is called samatha, and also it can lead to insight. Insight is very interesting. I'll cover that in a second. And those two again lead to something we all know: awakening. Yay! But this awakening does not mean all the kin awakening, obviously, but this awakening means becoming aware of the true nature of reality. Now you might ask, oh, what is this dragon talking about? True nature of reality. Well, it's simple, it's out there. No, it's not. And well, I'll be talking about that a lot in the coming hours or minutes. But yeah, true nature of reality is something you actually need to experience it. I'll come back to that in a minute. It's actually a kind of awakening that is radically transforming your your world, your experience for the mind. Meditation aims at integrating that into your daily life. That's the final goal. So if we talk about that, we need to take a look at the five main insights. I found that actually two of them are pretty straightforward. So insights are basically experiences or learnings that many people get from meditation. Actually, thousands of people are getting these insights. So actually, there must be going something on here. Um, the two insights that are pretty straightforward are: one, everything that happens is causally interdependent. Yeah, butterfly in China flaps its wings, and there is a tornado in Florida. Um, yeah, well, it's a bit hard to prove that it's interdependent, but it goes in that direction somewhere. Pretty easy to understand, yeah. Of course, it's debatable, but at least it's pretty easy to understand. Second insight: pain is unavoidable in life, but suffering is mind-created and optional. I can totally second that. I mean, everybody's got pain somewhere in their life. So that adds some mental quality to that. Yeah, I think that's also quite easy to understand. There is three insights that are really hard to wrap your mind. The first one is called impermanence. It means that there is only process and matter doesn't actually exist. Boom. Um, well, it's just for the moment, just take it as it is. It's really difficult to wrap your mind around. Then the next thing is called emptiness. That is closely related. It says that there is no reality independent of the mind. The book says, I'm quoting, all we've ever known is what the mind itself has produced. And there is another quote that says, consciousness has no object apart from the simple fact of consciousness itself. That points into a direction that everything that is actually part of reality is not really out there, but it is something that you experience in your mind. which is actually pretty straightforward. Yeah, I mean, there is no such, there's no thing in reality that you don't experience in your mind. Everything, it's all in there. Yeah, it's all in there. Um, but there is some added quality to all of that. Actually, this tells that yeah, there is no matter. The mind is creating reality. The reality is not independent of the mind, so they are entangled. Yeah. The last insights is called no self, and that tells that the self is not independent. I've written in the PDF that it is a constructed entity that emerges from emptiness. Um, that's very hard to understand. I pretty much think that Culadasa refers to the I, or the ego, as Freud calls it, and not so much to the true self as C.G. Jung calls it. Um, that notion of no self is a bit really hard to wrap your mind around because it somehow leads to nihilism, which is actually not what it's saying. There is a self, only that the self is not independent from all the other selves, or from everything else. Yeah. So now you might have a slight idea about where this leads to, and you will have understood that this is quite profound. It's hard enough to understand these concepts, but think about experiencing that. Think about living that. You know, not only understanding, but really experiencing that it's true. And that is actually like taking the red pill. I pretty much think that most of you will have watched The Matrix. Let's just check something. Oh, never mind. So, having watched The Matrix, um, yeah, well, Morpheus was telling, you cannot explain what The Matrix is. You need to see it for yourself. And that is actually the same uh, uh, thing Buddha said. Well, it is said that Buddha mentioned, don't believe what I say, go there and see for yourself. And that is, I think, I like that very much. And that is really, really important. Okay. Why did I take the red pill? Well, that I stumbled into it. So actually, before I even started meditating, I was realizing insights, especially that insight about reality not being that real as it's cracked up to be. I'll talk more about that in the next panel. So I had a strong wish to explore this. I'm basically not a guy who's afraid of these things, but I just want to explore. Also, I have natural flows of energy. I'm feeling them all the time, and also that is something that is experienced in meditation. I wanted to explore that, and also I'm just curious. Yeah. So actually, there's no way around taking the red pill for me. So how is it done? And for that second part, let me post another picture. Oh, again, did it wrong. There we are. Oh, and maybe I think that picture is not the best resolution, so maybe I will just also post the link to the original picture. This is free to use for commercial use, and I'm quite happy about that. Hang on, let me just put that link in brackets. Okay, so you can open this up. Well, what does the picture say? You can see that there is a path winding upwards. If you take a look at the bottom, you can see there are little numbers at the figures. Yeah. So if you take a look at the very bottom, number one, you can see a monk, an elephant, and an ape. Now, what does it mean? The monk represents the meditator. So that's you if you're meditating. The elephant represents your mind, and the ape represents distractions. And you can see in stage one, the monk is rather helplessly running behind the elephant, and the elephant is just chasing the monkey. Um, if you go upwards the road, you can see there are some flames. The flames. Sorry, yeah. Sorry for all the monkeys and elephants in the room. Don't mind that. So the flames are representing hindrances on the way. Um, and actually, as the path continues, you can see that the monk is gradually gaining more control over the elephant. I actually don't like the picture for the monk is binding the elephant's neck. Yeah, I don't like that too much, but actually, in the end, it's quite a good depiction. So in stage 3, you can see that there is another animal joining. It's a rabbit. The rabbit sits on the elephant's back. The rabbit represents dullness that at some point emerges. And also you can see that the ape and the monkey, they've noticed that the monk is around. And yeah, you can see that the monk is actually coming more and more in good terms with them. The elephant is gradually turning white. That represents the mind being calmed. And you can see that at some point the ape stays behind, and at stage 7 you can see that both ape and rabbit they stay at the side of the road and bid their goodbyes to the other two. And then starting at stage 9, you can see that there are some weird things happening, including the path turning into a rainbow in the sky, the monk flying around in the air, and at the end, the monk sitting on top of the elephant's back, wielding a sword. So, yeah, well, there seems to be pretty much magic happening up there. All right. So, I just tell you a bit more about the individual stages until we run out of time, but timing is pretty good. I think we will have some time left for questions. So, stage 1. Stage 1 is all about establishing a daily practice. You need to choose a place for meditation. You need to choose a posture, a time. In all, you make meditation a habit, diligent meditation a habit. Any time and any posture is allowed, as I say. It's preferable to select the time of the day where you're not tired, obviously. My personal experience is well, I basically started this one day and then kept it, just kept it on. Yeah, I'm quite a disciplined guy, so I can do that from one day to another. It's not a big problem for me. As long as there is some progress, I will do that. So it was a bit troublesome for me to find the right posture. It was also a bit troublesome to find the right time. At the beginning, I prefer to meditate in the morning, but that's a bit difficult if you have a job to do. So actually, the key to overcoming dullness for me was to select the right time. Today I'm doing a biphasic sleeping pattern, so normally today I can meditate in the late evening, which is what I normally do. When I'm really not tired, I can do lying down meditation. That is possible. I can also listen to some traditional music. Also, that is allowed. It helps me to stay focused and to stay awake. Okay, so that is stage 1. Actually, pretty simple. The real work starts in stage 2. This is about establishing peripheral awareness and uninterrupted attention to the meditation object. Now, there are some terms in there. Peripheral awareness is to be aware of everything that is around you, including sounds, including feelings, including your bodily feelings. And awareness is different from attention. Attention is the point of your surroundings, or also your inner mind you focus on. Yeah. Attention should be to the meditation object, and as meditation object, breath at the nose is recommended. This is being recorded, yes, definitely. Breath at the nose is recommended, but it is not mandatory. You can use a different meditation object. I actually don't really much like the breath at the nose because it's not too interesting. Okay. Also, it somehow feels a bit unnatural to me. I mean, it, all this human body stuff. It's yeah, well, it's wrong anyhow. So breath at the nose includes that. Somehow I don't like it. On the other side, it's quite simple to focus on. Yeah, it's got quite a lot of sensations. You would be surprised. So I've used it most of the time. Then one other very important thing in that stage is that you will have so-called aha moments. That works like follows. You focus on the meditation object for a while, and then at some point your mind gets distracted, and you're thinking about preparing dinner, or you're thinking about your panel at Othercon or anything, your job. And then some point eventually you will notice that you don't think about the meditation object anymore. And then you will have that typical feeling, aha, catched you, and you will return to the meditation object. Now the key in that stage is how to handle that in a positive way. Uh, the key is to not be sorry for having left the meditation object, but you need to apply some positive reinforcement. You need to actually say, hey, thank you for noticing. Thank you for getting back to the meditation object. This is a good thing. Yeah. These aha moments are actually exactly what you want to have in that stage, and we all know them. They are normal, and these are actually exactly what you want to have. Um, in that stage, I ramped up my session duration from 15 to 30 minutes. Later went to 45 minutes. Yeah, I've talked about breath at the nose. So that is this one. Then stage 3. This is about starting overcoming mind wandering and stop forgetting the meditation object. Um, it's much about training the mind to catch distractions and also strengthen introspective awareness. Introspective awareness is being aware of what happens in your mind. There are several techniques for that, including closely following the breath, labeling of distractions. That means after you had an aha moment, you just put a label to how it came to that. Yeah, you just uh, um, yeah, you realize, okay, I've thought about preparing dinner. Yeah, so you to put a label on that. That's dinner. Another technique is to intentionally turn attention inwards rather than listening, rather than being aware of the sounds around you. Also at that stage, the rapid occurs, dullness and drowsiness emerge. If you're getting drowsy, there are several techniques to counter that, including opening your eyes, that is allowed, also tensing your muscles, standing up, doing walking meditation. Those are typical techniques to counter dullness. Actually, for me, the key to overcoming dullness was really finding the right time to meditate. If I'm tired, I would just get dull, and I would need to apply the techniques I just mentioned. All of these needs very much focus and diligence, but actually, to me, it felt somehow logic and naturally. Also, at that stage, I've written down, actually written down a lot in the book. The book's been really worked with. And at that stage, I've written down that my mind or the mind may be observed constructing reality, which is quite interesting. I could at some point I could somehow actually feel how reality comes about. Okay, going through there quite quickly, but I think okay. Stage 4. This is about overcoming distractions. There are two types of distractions: gross distractions and yeah, less gross distractions. The stage is handling gross distractions and strong dullness. It's also becoming more aware of mind's own activities. And in that stage, something very important starts that is called emotional purification of the mind. I will just stress the last bit because that's quite important. Um, the book stresses at several places that in that stage, especially, there might be disturbing emotions, memories, and visions come to the surface. The recommendation is to just let them come and go and not explore them further. Yeah, which is somehow hard to do, I think, for many people, obviously. The book stresses this so much that I have to conclude that this seems to be a severe problem for many people. It was not so much a problem for me. There were not too many disturbing emotions, but actually there can even surface some, yeah, traumata. Yeah, can also surface at that stage, which might be difficult to handle. Um, so I've actually added a few extra slides to the PDF about this. Um, you might remember that I've mentioned Ulrich Ott presentation. He talked about varieties of contemplative experiences, and in the PDF I've linked a paper about this. Um, so this is about disturbing experiences, and Ott says that disturbing experiences are possible during meditation, but they are not necessarily caused by meditation. They are just surfacing. And there is a lot of possible effects. Feeling of stress, inner freezing, loss of control, loneliness, bothers, intense brooding, disappointment, disruption of understanding of the world. Well, that is related to the realization of insight, obviously. Loss of feeling of time and ego self. That also seems to be typical. Um, in the PDF, I've put percentage numbers on there, and the percentage numbers are somewhere in between 20% and 60%. They refer to the fraction of meditation practitioners who have actually reported to have had these effects. So, for example, 60% said that they were less interested in real life after meditation, which is quite understandable. But you see that this is not something to take lightly. It's not something to mess around with. And that is, I think, another major drawback. I would highly advise, if you're mentally unstable in some way, to search for a good teacher, because things like those can come about. Um, Also, um, there is something very well known. It is called Dark Night of the Soul. Some of you might have heard that. This notion refers to some kind of depression, feeling of despair, meaninglessness, frustration that might come with inside experiences. Um, if it's just that if you realize that reality is somehow different from what you thought, and realize that in your mind there are things that you never thought of, it can be really hard to wrap your mind around. Um, it's actually um, such a high of a problem that there are people offering help. I'll just put that in the chat. There are two links. The first one is called Meditation Safety Toolbox, and the second one is called First No Harm. Those are actually websites that offer advice for people who are experiencing negative effects from meditation. Yeah, so that might help some of you if suffering from that. Okay. Um, I think I'll just quickly go through the last stages and maybe take another 10 minutes. Oh no, that's actually too much, so I'll do it quickly. Actually, stage 5 there's nothing too much new. This is about overcoming subtle dullness and increasing introspective awareness and mindfulness. And actually, from that step on, it's all about uh, um, increasing your own inner awareness and canceling out inputs that come from the outside. Well, um, this is about canceling out dullness. Um, Dullness comes with loss of vividness, and it lures you into a pleasant feeling. So it's somehow well attractive, but dullness should be avoided. That's stressed quite a lot. Techniques to do this include body scanning and, importantly for us, interestingly, phantom limbs may be included in body scanning. Body scanning is just focusing on your body parts and also exploring how they relate to the breath. I've discovered that this can be done with phantom limbs. Yeah, so it's quite interesting. Phantom limbs have they are not so much different from quality from real limbs at some point. Yeah, but um, of course they are not physical. But well, from feeling they can be very similar. Also, strong energy flows, rapid eye movements might occur in that stage, and actually also in the other stages. I'm feeling all I'm strong energy flows. I can control them to a certain extent, but um, those are actually quite pleasant. Um, Stage 6, let me just scan this if there is anything important here. Yeah, it all goes into the direction of holding conscious intention to observe more and more details of the meditation object and ignoring everything else. Also, observing more and more details of what's going on in your mind. You ask questions like, hey, um, how does the mind feel right now after I had an aha moment, or yeah, at some point, and how does that compare to a previous feeling in the same session, or how does that compare to the feeling in yesterday's session, and so on and so on. So you explore more and more subtleties in your mind. Okay, I think there's not too much to tell more. Yeah, and at some point you're supposed to reach a kind of flow state where your attention is actually stable. That state is called jhana. And actually I'm able to reach it, but only for a short amount of time. Later it should go naturally, but it's not something I can do at the moment. Yeah, that just needs more practice. It also can be hard to tell when you reach that state. I personally, I when I'm in that state, I really stop thinking in words. You could also relate it to a mental shift. It's actually quite a lot to do with it. So I am just more or less floating and not really thinking in words. There is another thing that should arise somewhere at that point, and it refers to meditative joy. The Sanskrit word for that is piti. There are many levels of piti. If you're meditating, then you will have probably experienced grade one piti. This is brief and unpredictable sensations. For example, lights flashing before your inner eye, or also an all-pervading light being there, prickling sensations in your body, energy sensations in your body, tickling limbs, and so on. This is normal. And this is actually getting more and more intense until you reach grade 5, where these feelings are actually pervading and staying. And it should come with intense joy. Not everyone experiences all of that. Not everyone experiences all grades also. And sometimes the experiences are even not that enjoyable. Some people seem to have a hard time. But in the end, it should lead to a feeling of intense joy. For me, that I didn't quite get there yet. I don't know why, or maybe there's some kind of barrier. But that intense joy they are actually describing, I didn't reach that yet. I just guess that it needs more practice. Okay, so the rest of the stage is actually about unification of the mind. Won't go into too much detail. There is a model of the mind in the book. So the mind is actually composed of several components that need to be unified. Um, just like you have um, many horses that should pull into one direction instead of pulling to several directions. Um, so techniques are just diligent effort. Also, you're allowed to focus on other things than the breath. Yeah, it should come with the ability to being able to sit for hours, which is something I cannot do. At some point, I just get too boring, too bored, which is also normal. to some extent. Um, yeah, and also, of course, inside experiences should occur. And actually, the last stage, again, as I said, all the stages are in the PDF if you're interested, but at stage 10, all of which I said should become persistent in between the meditation sessions. So at some point you will reach that joy feeling, that inside feeling, that tranquility, equanimity. You will feel that even when you're not meditating. Yeah, so that is really the top-notch level meditator. Okay, to finalize this, some critical thoughts. Actually, I've told about a lot of them. The no self idea leading to nihilism. Yeah. Yeah, also the term emptiness is a bit difficult to wrap your mind around. I don't interpret it so much as that there is nothing, but there is more like potential for something. Yeah, actually, I've talked about all that. Um, so just to finalize this quote from my meditation diary, which I think is quite beautiful. I've written down, being a playful mind who wants to try everything within an endless emptiness. What else could emerge than a universe? That actually catches pretty much that, yeah, reality emerges from emptiness by the mind actually playing around. And actually, there's no way around it. Okay. Um, my contact details are also at the last page, so you can hook me up in community or by mail or by PM, of course. Since we have 10 minutes left, let me take a look in the chat. Let's see if I can find some questions. I don't know if somebody pinged me. I cannot find that. Okay. If you people got some questions, maybe it's good if you would post them right now because I might not find them from scrolling up. I can see that there is not too much chatter going around. Okay, we'll just wait for it. Many persons are writing. Also, if somebody would like to speak up, just raise your hand or claw or fluke or whatever. Where is anything? And I think we can open the stage for you. What's your favorite form of meditation pose? Yeah, it is sitting. Nowadays, I'm sitting in the chair. I'm usually sitting in front of the window of my living room. Sometimes the window is open, sometimes it isn't. Um, that's my usual form. Actually, this looks quite boring. I'm just sitting there all the time. I've also tried walking meditation. I've tried that once. Well, actually, should do that more often. It's actually great, especially for having insight. I don't get that inside feeling if I'm sitting in the chair. Not that easily. It's better if I'm out in nature. Also, I've once tried to sit outside during a thunderstorm. That is that was an interesting experience. Yeah, you can feel all these energies around you. That was really quite interesting. But at some point, eventually, it started to rain, so I left that place. How do you define meditation? Well, actually, I don't. It's a good question. I would quite bluntly say that it's training your mind. It's learning about your inner world, and while you learn about your inner world, you're also learning about the external world. Yeah. Okay. Not much more to say, but I think the book doesn't really have a definition for that. Do you have any kind of music you recommend for meditation? Uh, Music is doing something for me. I'm also the type of guy who's actually playing music all the time, or yeah, quite often. I'm playing music in my own mind. Um, it's mostly music that triggers skin feels. Um, most prominently the Dragonheart score. I love that. But also the score from Star Trek Beyond. I love that hearing for meditation. It's instrumental music. Um, yeah, it's somehow very soft type of music, but yeah, it's not only flutes or something. Um, of course, I wouldn't recommend hard rock. That's I like hard rock, but not for meditation. Um, music also there is some kind of traditional Tibetan style meditation music that you can download on YouTube. I've tried it. To some extent, it does work. The good thing is that it keeps you awake. But if you're using it for 5 days in a row or something, then at some point it just gets boring and you would go to something else. Again, you need to try out for yourself. There's another thing I've tried when it comes to sound, which is those called solfeggio frequencies, I think, solfeggio frequencies. Those are sinusoidal tones, certain patterns that are just played, yeah. So you just hear a single tone, and it's supposed to set your brain into a certain state. It seems to do something, but actually for me it doesn't do much. Apparently, it doesn't do much. Let's see. I've seen a lot of people do both, but when you meditate, do you clear your mind or let thoughts come and go as they please? It should be the latter. Um, thoughts arising, I think you cannot avoid that the mind is getting distracted. Yeah, I mean, I had a meditation session just before the panel, and of course, I was thinking about the panel. Yeah, that cannot be avoided. Mm. Yeah, well, but the key is to really let the thoughts come and go, and not care too much about them. Oh dear, my voice is coming to it's with some uh, limit, as it seems. Symphonic metal. Yeah, it could work. It could work. Oh, Nightwish. I love Nightwish. Nightwish so great. But most thing I didn't try Nightwish. But yeah, I pretty much think it could work if it's not too loud. Yeah. This is more or less the type of music I would also recommend. But again, you need to find out what works for you. Actually, that is quite surprising. When I started the research, I supposed, or I thought that actually there would be a very specific recipe and very specific rules for following, but it turns out that it's not the case. So there's a great degree of freedom still. Oh yeah, there's already some meditation playlists. There's a lot of them actually. So there's a super high amount to choose from when it comes to music. The difference between trance states and meditative states. I don't know too much about trance states, so I'm not fully qualified to answer that. But from my viewpoint, meditation could lead to trance-like states. Yes. Um, I'm really not too sure because I don't think I've experienced trance states. Um, Trance is oftentimes connected with dancing or burning some incense and some, yeah, or sometimes some drugs. I never did that. Um, yeah, pretty much that the difference might not be so high. Light trance state, yeah, that's possible. Obviously, it's quite different. It's quite difficult to reach that meditative state or trance state, especially for me because I have quite a stable mind and a very strong mind. So I have trouble to let go, so to say. when I meditating, I always think that I should let go of the ego mind, um, yeah, such as to subdue the distractions. But it's not an easy thing to do. Is it common to see your kin form when meditating? Um, when I'm meditating by the book, I don't see it. Actually, I don't see it at all, unless it's pretty much something that bit strange. I would have expected, but it's well, it's not really there. But yeah, well, it's not totally true. I've had occasions where I somehow felt the presence of other beings, supposedly dragons, and also I got the feeling that uh, well, one sentence that always popped into my mind was "We are thousands, we are thousands," and I interpret that as some hint that there are many dragons. You know? So, um, but these feelings, I don't know if they were just my imagination or well, on the other side, everything. Oh yeah, that's something very interesting and important. The book says that everything in meditation is significant. Everything you realize or experience is significant. So odds are that these feelings of dragon beings being around is also quite significant. Um, yeah, but I've had previous meditations where I didn't focus so much on the breath, but just let my mind wander and let just images arise. And there were lots and lots and lots of dragons in my mind. I'm actually quite thankful that they're around. Do you have any resources for the later stages, particularly how to bring that sense of quietness and contentment from meditation to when you're not meditating anymore? Unfortunately, not. Um, there's a lot of resources in the book, and if you're interested in that, well, you can take a look in the PDF, taking a look at the higher stages. But the truth is that I cannot yet get there. I cannot yet get there. Maybe next year. Well, most meditators be practicing for years and years and years until they even have their first insight experiences. So that's it really takes a lot of practice. Also seen dragons. That's good to know. It's good to know that I'm not the only one who sees dragons. Okay, Fox, we are running a bit out of time. Actually, yeah, 1 hour is up. So I would say let's conclude this. Also, I will also have the next panel just in the same panel room. Um, and let me just pick up a cup of coffee and then I'll return and see you. Okay, you can come back to me at any time using PMs, as I said. I'll also have a look at the chat and see if there are additional questions. Okay, see you in a minute.